Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 19th, 2017. Summer's over. All right, so first on our agenda, we will have a joint meeting with the Park and Recreation to discuss the Long Lake Bathhouse project and receive an update. Then we have the fiscal year 2018 budget update. And then we'll discuss the October 30th, 2017 special town meeting, begin to adopt article recommendations. We have a draft in here. We'll take a look at that. Then we have public input, a little bit of financial dashboard discussion, member updates, some minutes to approve the last two meetings. Then we're going to go into executive session with the school committee to discuss collective bargaining on the litigation or the what's going on with the teacher's contract, sorry. Okay, and then we'll adjourn, so we won't come back into the meeting after that. So once we go into executive session, we will close it down after that. So we will not be live on TV during that part of the meeting. Okay, so let's start with the Park and Rec update. You guys doing?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having us
Fantastic,
tonight.
welcome, thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exciting stuff.
It is, it really is.
Introduce yourselves for television.
Yeah.
Yes,
for
indeed.
TV.
And for some of us who don't know you.
Yeah. So I'm Alicia Day, I'm the Director for Littleton Parks, Recreation, and Community Ed.
And I'm Tim Mahowski, the Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Education.
Gary Austin, Park and Recreation, Community Education Commissioner.
That's a lot to say.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
So thank you for having us here tonight. We just wanted to give an update at your request on where we are with the current bathhouse project. Since our last meeting, one of the main changes was from PMBC. Bill Cole was assisting us. He is no longer doing that. So I think that, you know, Greg and I had spoken briefly, and it'll be under PMBC, but it might be something that if Greg is appointed from PMBC, that, you know, he could be a nice liaison for both that group. And
I'm not on
I'm sorry,
PMBC.
who?
It was Steve Moore who was
Steve, okay.
on. He was asking
Sorry. Yeah.
for the update. He's not here tonight, but certainly he can watch it live on TV and
right. So
get the
we're gonna.
updates. He was the one that requested the updates.
Yeah, we're going to try to get with them in the next meeting to try to see who they want to reappoint for the task of that. So far, what I want to go over with you is we've had a couple meetings. Number one, we sent out the abutters letter. We had the abutters meeting first, as well as a public forum to discuss the bathhouse. What I'm going to show you and run through quickly is the slideshow that we went through with them. So basically, we went over the purpose of the bathhouse, which is to gain the public input on the design of the new bathhouse and the components that they'd like to see to serve the needs of the community visitors, as well as us as Parks and Recreation, the needs of our operations. Agenda that we went over were project phases and what to expect, overview of the buildings and the current needs, recently updated Massachusetts state and local bathhouses, what are your needs, ideas, and wish lists, and then we open the floor to questions, comments, and concerns about the project. So far, we are on schedule as what we put out for the phases. We did hold the abutters meeting, like I said, on August 15th. Then we had our all-public meeting on August 22nd. The bid process, we did hope to start by this time, which is September. Last week, Bonnie had given me the RFQ from the concessions building for alumni. I've taken the bits and pieces of the 510 pages there and condensed it down into the three that I actually need. The three that I actually need for this project. So I'm going to be sending that to Bonnie either tomorrow or Friday to get that up so we can get the RFQ and bid process started and stay on our timeline. Researching for local, state, and federal grants. I've researched into Middlesex County grants that are available up and coming, the USDA grants that are available specifically for Parks and Recreation. There are numerous ones that we qualify for. with, just to give you an idea, Bill Ricca is doing a similar project that they were approved for, a $400,000 grant for this coming 2017-18 year. So we are talking about grant numbers that are in the ballpark of covering the entire project. So that is what we're really looking for. Along with that, we're looking into land water grants from National Park Service, as well as other recreation grants that are out there and available through the state and national groups.
You mentioned Bill Ricca,
Yes.
so is that Nutting Lake?
I'm not sure. I don't know that right off the top of my head. I can find that out for you.
I'm just curious to know if they received any grants, if you know.
That was the USDA grant. They were one of the towns
Okay.
that was issued
So
a
they-
$400,000 grant for this coming year.
Okay.
They kind of had everything in the kitchen sink in there, it seemed
Yeah,
like, so.
I'll get you a copy of the list of all the approvals for this 2017-18 year, and let you see them. So, and it really ranged like from $40,000 projects up to, I think their ceiling was $400,000 on them. So a lot of very similar things that we'd like to see in the parks. There was everything from trash cans to benches to pathways to trees to buildings, all sorts of different things in the state. So it was nice to see. Definitely something that we want to look towards.
Excellent.
So our hope is to get the RFQ out, start accepting bids, and select the winning bid by late October, at which point we will go forward with getting the design completed for the bathhouse. Design meetings between the selected company, PRC, the Park Commission, probably October through December, just kind of hammering out what we would like to accomplish and get the design just right. After we get a preliminary design from whomever is the winning of the bid, we're going to go back through the process. So a butters meeting once again in January, followed by a public meeting, go back to the designer, make the little tweaks that we want to make, and then a finished design presentation and placements on the property with concept art in each location, 3D views, so that we can see what exactly our views are going to be from different levels, from different houses. That was one of the things from the abutters that was mentioned about blocking views towards the lake. At that point, if necessary, secure additional funding for demolition and construction, May 2018 / to be determined, depending on if we stick to this time frame. Discuss and solidify construction process and time frame, also to be determined based off of this. Construction will hopefully we can begin sometime in September of 2018, with a grand opening anticipated for spring summer 2019.
Okay. What were some of the pros and cons of the abutters meeting? I mean, were there folks that were against it, for it? What was being said? I mean, it sounded like there was view concerns, but was there anything else?
I think people were extremely supportive of it. I think the one takeaway was there is a grove of trees that's behind the playground. That was please don't touch this area. I think that's an area that a lot of people use for, picnic tables are over there. It's, a shady area. So that was the one big piece that they really did ask for the abutters, was not to, to put anything in that space. But otherwise, we talked about different concepts, different sizes, and a lot of different ideas. And the feedback was really positive. So Tim also put together a survey, and you can talk a little bit about that too. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, at the end, we're going to run
Okay.
through the survey. I know that you had a copy to the link. I don't think that you took it. I didn't see.
I did.
Okay.
Awesome, thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm
Thank
trying
you
to
very
stay
much.
neutral.
No, that's fine. And really, it was, not a neutral or anything else. It was just, run through it, and obviously your opinion counts just as much as everybody else. Because we want the whole thing, we want everybody's input on what they'd like to see, what their family's needs are, to accomplish this building that hopefully is going to stand for 30, 40 years, just like the building that we currently have does.
So are you conceptually looking at putting it on that side of the,
We're-
when you come in on Town Road on the right-hand side, or is it going to be where the existing?
So
It's on that
we'll get
side.
to that point. I actually have a couple kind of ideas of
Right here.
that have come through, but when you come downtown road, it would be to your left.
So it would be where the,
Current one is.
Be in, yeah, kind of like in front of that a
In
little
front
bit.
of that,
Yeah.
Where the
yeah.
parking lot is now.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me move through. So
Bonnie
this
had
is
a
the
quick
current
question.
building.
Can I just
Can I just ask a question on the
Yeah,
timeline?
absolutely.
Is it the intent sometime between February and May to go out to bid to have actual prices if you
Yes.
were going to, okay. I'm
Yes.
just curious. If we go to town meeting with bids in
Sorry, I
hand.
can add that into there.
We want to give the grant process a good shake to see, because it's really important that we respect the funds and that we want to be able to do the best that we can using, being Parks and Recreation, we do have an option of using these grants, and we do have some really good opportunities. So we really want to try to go that route rather than saying like, here's another very expensive project town, please, That's not our expectation at all. We want to be able to try to get as much funding from grants as
But
possible.
if we can get the cost of the construction and then
Indeed.
figure the funding out, behind that.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
Okay.
just at least, I know that the process here typically is we go to town meeting with fixed pricing,
Right.
or we try to when we can.
Right, that's a good point.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing that we have discussed is, obviously the building is a big chunk of what we'd like to do, but we would like to build the actual park out into, various phases. So get the building built. We really need to think about parking. Currently there's less than 30 parking spaces in that lot. The positioning of the building will give us the ability to look at, putting in additional parking. That might not necessarily be during this phase. We can make plans for where we're going to do that, but that would be additional funding that we would look for. Other things are, planting new trees, possibly putting in pads with grills and picnic tables that were a little more permanent and easier to use. Maybe even a dock that maybe ends in like a gazebo, so the kids actually have a place to fish. People have a chance to go out and sit down and, enjoy the lake. So we'd really like to look at the, at the ability to take the park and really, make it into a phased project over time. This obviously being, the first piece of that puzzle, because we are getting a lot of good feedback from the survey that we're going to go over here in a minute with some of those ideas that are being asked for as well. So this is just a map of the beach as it currently sits. To give you an idea, the little circle is the current bathhouse that's right there. Obviously, parking lot in the middle, playground, beach, and then the boat ramp, which is state-owned, is on the left side of the picture where the rocks are kind of lining the driveway. The area directly behind the playground, that's that grove of trees that Alicia had referred to, and that was where Ray had really requested not to have any kind of large structures obstructing the view of the lake or being built there. He said that that would definitely be something that he would not be agreeable to, but anywhere else he was definitely open to ideas and suggestions. So to give you a quick rundown of the current buildings, we have our guard shack and bathhouse. It's 1,200 square feet. It's concrete block, wood construction, asphalt roof, built somewhere around 1953. So men and women's restrooms, single outdoor shower, lifeguard, first aid office, winter storage. Currently issues with the building is it's got a leaky roof. We have groundwater intrusion, limited facilities being toilets, sinks, and changing rooms. Limited office and spa safe, and it's not a very secure structure when it really comes down to for the type of documents and stuff that we keep in there in the summer. And there's no public use space, meaning that there's not, for our sailing program, our Camp Tehadawon, other programs like SUP Yoga, beach yoga, things that we do down there, there's no room, there's no shelter if we wanted to have people, be able to come in and do those kind of things.
And inclement weather becomes an issue for this program.
It's a rain or shine operation.
Exactly. Anytime lightning comes, it's either get in your car or go
We
home.
haul everybody over to Shaker Lane, so it's an endeavor.
Snack shack is 96 square feet. It's just a prefab shed, 8 by 12. Basically, concerns and issues, it is a snack shack. There is no running water in there. Surfaces and floors are not Board of Health compliant, meaning, they're not the proper materials. There's limited electric. We only have one 10-amp circuit in there, which sometimes runs the soda cooler and the ice cream machine from across.
On a good
And
day.
also not a very secure structure, as you can kind of tell by the picture.
Have you had any issues with that?
Yes.
In the past, we have, not this summer, but yes.
Okay.
Life jacket sheds, same kind of thing. It's prefab structure, 8x6. We use this for all of our life jackets, water sports, winter storage. Our boat motors and gasoline get stored in here. Basically, it's not adequate to hold the equipment that we currently have. As we've grown, if you look in there, it's kind of that, you open that door, it's the whole bowling ball thing, depending on who put it away the night before. Again, you can see how the door is very beat up. People have made many attempts to get into that building. Some have been successful. Our window is now wood.
I just have a quick question. So on these buildings, are we talking about demolition of these buildings?
They would all go.
They
Yep.
would, okay. Just wanted to make.
Consolidation, that's the one of the big pieces.
Right. No, I didn't know if when I look at those prefabs, obviously pictures don't tell the true story, what they
Right.
really look like. The first one looked like it was in pretty good shape. No, could it be? I was just thinking picked up and moved somewhere else for another use with the town.
And we can definitely
if you
look
want to
into
do that,
that.
we can. Yeah,
Absolutely.
the snack shack's in actually pretty fair
Yeah.
condition. This shed, yes, it could definitely use as equipment shed somewhere else in
Yeah.
town if somebody
I was
wanted
thinking
to.
the ball fields, Whitcomb Field, this is certain fields that definitely could use it.
We do own a sea container. It's 200 square feet, 20 by 10. This is our base operations for all of our sailing. It's our main winter storage aside from the bathhouse. So once again, we have space restrictions for holding all of our equipment. There is no electric, and we tend to be the home for all the animals and rodents come winter time. So we did throw out a very, very large amount of sails and tents and things like that that got chewed up by whatever was in there this winter.
And it came,
Weather
the,
tight, no?
What's that?
well, the sea container has holes in it. Like, clearly whoever owned it before tried to turn it into some sort of like an indoor workshop.
Yeah, it was a
perhaps.
workshop. There's
Yeah.
like there's some holes cut into it. There is electric. It could be hooked up theoretically.
Where is that?
It's
It's
behind the
behind
bathhouse.
it. And people just kind of glaze over it. It's not a pretty thing, so it's
Yeah,
like
I
not
was
there.
trying to picture where it
Where
was.
is
'cause
that?
it-
That's why.
Right, if
okay.
you look right underneath Littleton.
Yeah, it's back there.
It's right
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And you own it, we don't lease it?
No, we own
It's,
that.
yeah.
So altogether, we have about 1,500 square foot of usable space and storage at the beach for Parks and Rec. What we were asking for in the meetings in the survey is one building to house a recreation office, a staff room. One of the issues we run into, we did build a wall this summer is we do not have a designated break area for our staff, which they are required by law to have that 30-minute break in the summertime for lunch, and depending on how long they've sat stand, it varies sometimes. First aid office, restrooms. We do not currently have a family restroom. We do have handicap accessible stalls. We have one shower, cold water only, outside, no foot washes. We do not have any baby changing areas. Snack shack, community program, camp area, and adequate storage for everything that we currently own, which is the sailing docks, the buoys, the sailboats, which are currently sitting outside waiting to be picked up for repair. All of our canoes, kayaks, paddle boards, everything that we have gets jammed into that building. Multi-seasonal bathroom access. So we're really looking to have something that will support those beautiful shoulder seasons of April and May, and September and October, not just when the beach is open from, weekends in June, July, August, close in September, because we do have families who utilize the playground. And like I stated, we really would like to start looking at the parks and being able to provide these amenities for, more time than what we currently do. Rather than mom have to run home or dad to take the kid to the bathroom, it would be nice to have, the building be able to be open and think about security measures, whether it's what kind of locking systems, what kind of hours can we offer for those buildings to be open. Upgraded infrastructure, so doing things that include upgrading the electricity, offering Wi-Fi to everybody on the beach while they're down there, things that we can look into, becoming more environmentally friendly, so looking into solar panels, looking into charging stations, using wind power, rain gardens to assist with the water runoff. What were you saying?
I was saying low-flow toilets, or even we've, been asked to look into composting if that's possible as well. So that's the design process, is throw it out there, we'll see what we can do.
So we're looking for something that's going to support growth of the town for the next 30-plus years, so that we're really making a true investment.
Are you looking at this, I see multi-seasonal usage, so you're looking at like expanding programs on the fringe of the seasons? So
Yep.
you can do more there?
Yeah,
things
so
like that.
if we were able to, have the building that we're hoping to have, it could be something that if, in theory, we could open up the garage doors and have somebody there to rent canoes and kayaks on Saturdays or whatever, people were available to do or wanted to do, or hold classes on Saturdays and Sundays, hold more yoga classes midweek, hold more young kids classes for families to come down and utilize playground, active play stuff. Yes, that would be our hope.
And theoretically, we could take our teen program that's currently housed in 123, which is a very small classroom. This summer, it was completely sold out, so we had 45 kids sort of hanging out in that room for the time frame from them getting on the bus to go out to their field trip. So when we think about all that compressed space, it would be really nice to have a home base for them, other than that tiny little classroom.
And other than playing video games in the classroom or board games or kind of being confined, we could do things like have kayaking, have canoeing, we could go on hikes, utilize the space better, having a better home base for them. Same thing with Camp T, they would be able to, as when they come to the lake, they could have, more classroom, there could be a better educational piece to it. When it rains, we have a place to take them inside, and even if it's just turn on a movie to shelter in place for a little while, it gives us those options to improve the programming. Size. So things that we're really considering are the size and placement, septic tank versus a tight tank sewer, other options. No matter what we would do, we would hopefully have the forethought to, even though we don't have sewer down that end of the world yet, plan the building so that it can be very easily hooked up if necessary. Alicia mentioned low-flow toilets. Low-flow toilets would only be a good option under a tight tank. If we did low-flow toilets under a septic system, we automatically increase the level of nitrates because there's not as much dilution. So we have looked into all of the options and, really started to have a good understanding of what the impacts are actually going to be.
Where's the septic system now? Is it in the parking lot?
So it's a tight tank. If you look to the left of the bathhouse, you can see the stone, and there's two little dots.
Yeah.
Those are the tanks. So that this summer we emptied about every 2 weeks at a cost of almost $900 a pop.
How many gallons is it?
Just
4,000, I think?
Yes.
4,000,
Okay.
yeah.
So other things we're considering, environmental ideas, solar, low-flow fixtures, et cetera, that I mentioned previous, multi-seasonal public building access, increased security, and anti-vandalism measures in the materials that we would use to build this. Community room would be the home for the junior guard and sailing programs. It would be additional space for creating more events and programming. It would also be a space that could be rented out to the community for parties, meetings, anything else that wanted to kind of happen down there. So this was just kind of a view of some of the Massachusetts Parks and Recreation public bathhouses. We went through a couple. This was mainly to give the abutters meeting an idea of what we wanted to what they wanted the building to look like, because we really want it to fit into the neighborhood. And ultimately what we came up with was we do want to have some sort of a Cape-style house.
So it looks like that's down in the Cape.
It is.
Yep. This is actually Barnstable's. Cape-style house, similar colors and plan, asphalt shingle roof. So this is kind of one of the buildings that we're looking for. This is what we're going to shoot for in our design. Something much larger. This was more of the longer stretched out look, just to give an idea of that. Very municipal. This is basically they bring it in on a tractor trailer, drop it off, hook it up, you're done. This could be something that we could look at in some of our parks later down the road, like Fay Park or at 300 King, where we do have a need for some of these facilities as well. This is kind of more what we're shooting for with the community room, 2 garage doors in the back area for storing equipment. Once again, just kind of a very municipal-looking building, Manchester by the Sea. Just some showers and some benches. This would be a nice, this was more to capture the shower and the bench that we want to kind of go with. This gives us not only, 8 shower heads, it also gives us the foot washing stations, which we don't have, which is one of our most requested things down there for washing beach toys. And very kind of municipal government building, but this was to also show the case of, you have the snack shack window just above the gentleman on the left, water fountains, which is something that we currently don't have down there because of the vandalism in the past, garage door opening for access to storage and parking vehicles, and then restrooms on the right-hand side.
That one did not go over well.
Yes, it was not very well received.
They did not like the look of that one.
This would be something else, kind of another idea as far as the community rooms in the front. This is actually the Woquacket Lake Yacht Club down on in Barnstable as well. But same kind of setup. They have their
Tour Cape Cod and start
yeah.
taking pictures?
They so we actually have some good contacts down there. That they have some really nice stuff, and they've been doing a lot of remodeling. So we were looking at some stuff.
That's actually
What
good.
the nice pieces here is, this building also has the same kind of needs. As you can see, on the right-hand side, they have a sailing program as well. They have that dock that runs out, very similar to ours, around the swimming area. This has a community room, a rooftop deck, concession stands, all sorts of amenities that we're looking at. To give you an idea of what that looks like in a blueprint and kind of what we're talking about, this would be hopefully what the new building would kind of look at. So it would house a concession stand, 2 storage bays, one for sailing, one for kayaks, canoes, and the rental home. Those would be roll-up garage doors that we could just open up and have everything housed. That way we're not having to lock everything up. It would be nice and secure. Men and women's room with a handicap, gender-neutral bathroom in the middle of that area. And then our community room, which has a little sink, closets, some storage areas in the front. We could house some tables and, egress in and out both sides of the building. So this is kind of our dream, our hope when we say, we want a building under one roof. This is what we're kind of thinking of the floor plan would look like. To answer your question that you came up with before, this would be one of the ideas.
Oh, okay.
That building would sit there. Those garage doors would open up onto the 2 parking spots that are currently there. That way we have access right to the beach. If we wanted to phase it out and, build a deck or stairs that went down closer to the beach, that would be something we could do on the front of the building. What this does is it gets the concession stand out of the parking lot. One of the biggest things that we get is the amount of kids who run back and forth through the parking lot. So we can create a pathway around the beach area or make, rules that limit the, kids in the parking lot, things like that, by being able to put this. The other thing that this does is where the current concession stand and bathhouse are, this gives us the ability to possibly open up some more parking spots in that area. As you can see, if the length behind the bathhouse where the tight tank I was pointing out before, the light brown area, if we wanted to put some better boat trailer parking in there, we could, because it would open up the length. We can have some actual spots where people can pull in there for when they do trailer boats down to the lake. So it gives us some opportunities, but this is also going to be something in the design process that we're going to ask the designer to give us the concept art of different orientations and different placements, so that we can ask the abutters and ask the public what, how would you like to see this? And we're open to absolutely anything that, generally
Yeah.
pleases everyone.
Great.
So then we had our question and answer session with them, and then we had our survey, which is also listed in the brochure that just went out in the households last week. To give you guys an idea of where we're at with the survey, so currently we have 84 participants, and I'll just run through this to give you an idea. So question number 1 was, are you a resident of Littleton, Mass? We do have a lot of outside people who do come to the beach. This year, we were much more successful in collecting revenue from the out-of-towners. We had our best year as far as beach stickers are
How
concerned.
many non-resident beach stickers?
So we had 530 beach stickers total. 118 of them were non-resident stickers. So, yeah, we did approximately, yeah, it was, we can get you those numbers.
So I'm just
if you
curious,
want.
because as you guys know, I used to be on the Park and Rec, and we sold a lot of non-resident stickers up until Narrow Park really kind of came online and really started doing well.
So this year, we
We had
increased
a lot of people from Acton.
Yep.
We increased the day passes to $20 for non-residents, and we actually saw a lot of revenue from the $20 day passes.
So people would just show up for the day and they'd pay their 20?
Paid the
Yep.
20. We had a separate parking pass, the hang tag that went in the window. It was a very successful program this year. And we also afforded people the opportunity that if you bought a day pass, you could trade it in at any time for an annual sticker.
Oh,
So it was a great
try
program.
before buy.
Yep, it was nice. You weren't stuck,
Yep.
you know. If you decided you came 5 times, we were just like, hey, here's your
Here's the sticker.
here's your sticker. So far, we've had 84 people, like I said. So a majority of our people, 78 who have responded to the survey, are Littleton, Massachusetts residents. Age range, majority of the demographic is in that 31 to 45-year-olds, and then 46 to 59 that we're looking at in response currently. Kind of a mixed bag. We had 6 people who answered the survey who also attended one of our meetings, 31 who did not attend the meeting, and 47 responded that they did not know about the meetings. So in that's the next question, is what is the best night to hold additional information sessions? So moving forward, we're also collecting email addresses if people wanted to know where they will get a case-specific email saying that the meeting is on this date at this time, to try to get more people out and involved and make sure that their opinions are being heard. So kind of split right down the board every night except for Friday, kind of what we expected.
Yeah.
Emails, almost 80% of the people who took the survey do want to have emails about the project and updates.
email updates?
Yep. So how often do you visit Long Lake Beach Park? This was important to kind of capture who was really giving us their opinion. Daily, weekly, monthly, occasionally, rarely, never. So everybody who answered has at least come to the park. During what time period that you visit? We really broke this down into something that blankets most of the parks and recreation operations. So early morning, which is dawn to 9 a.m., morning 9 a.m. to 11, afternoon 12 to 5, evening 5 to dusk, or I do not use the park, which we only had one person, and they were weighing in on something that they did not want to see happen.
And where was this survey? Who got it?
Tim put it together to be
So-
able to post
But
it.
who did it, though? Who did you ask, or how did you?
We asked for the
determine?
entire town.
Sorry.
So we advertised for it on our Facebook page, it went up on our Instagram. There are signs in the hall, there's signs at the bathhouse, it
in
is
our
in our
brochure.
I'll
back
have to
page
go
of our
look.
brochure.
I'll fill one out. I didn't see
I
it.
got it from the brochure, that's
Yep,
right.
back page of the brochure.
Okay.
It was emailed to all town employees to pass out. So, and then we also have it in various locations, I
Okay.
think, around town.
What's the best way to get it to you?
Email.
Okay.
I mean, I see your Facebook stuff too, but I
Yeah.
missed, but you don't see everything.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, absolutely.
Please.
So who do you visit the beach with? Alone, 29 people. So hopefully we can have events to get some people together and get them some friends to travel to the beach with. And then with your family, no children, so 13 people in the age demographic that doesn't have children. With family, with children, so 67, so a majority of our visitors who are coming to the beach are coming with children, which is very evident in the summertime. With friends, 26. This is a large, if you really break down the information, this is kind of our teen, tween. We did have a couple responses in that age demographic, all that kind of fit into here. With a group, and then I do not use the park as another option again. What resources do you use? Almost everybody uses the beach area, bathhouse, boat ramp, boat rentals, parking, picnic tables, playground, shower, snack shack, swimming area, and other. Some people just made up some things they do down there. which,
Did you say this survey went out with the light and water bills, or you're planning to do
It
that?
did not.
no, it did not. We sent it out. We had, like I said, we did it on social media with the brochure, and then we did it just via the signage that we have up.
But that's something we will definitely look forward, we can look for in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might be a good idea to, and then that way at least you've got it out to all the people who,
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Well,
excellent idea.
when you send it out to all town employees, reach a bigger audience if you send it out to all the members of all the committees in town,
Indeed, yeah.
because there's more of us than there are of them.
Is that a email
And that,
thread that we
that
have?
scatters you all across the landscape too.
I think
But
we would
sending
need.
it out on the back of the brochure goes to every single home.
Right.
So 14,000 people received a brochure. 14,000 individual households.
Oh, I didn't get one.
I did.
Did you?
Yep.
That I noticed, but again, there's so much stuff that comes and goes, so who knows, you know?
So
I
you
mean,
sent
that's
it
a
to every
problem.
household and,
In Littleton, yes.
Yes, every single it's
In
the
the
very
brochure, in the
last
brochure,
page.
so if you don't
Yep.
read the Park and Rec brochure, you know.
I know we look at that, but I don't remember seeing
oh, I did have the brochure. And
Yeah.
I go through it, but
Got pumpkins on the front.
Yeah.
I, son of a gun, there you go.
See?
I looked at everything
It's on
but
the last
that.
page, so, yeah, if you still have it, go through, and you can type it in, or you can go right to our website. It's right on our homepage, on that front page, so you just have to go there, click on it. It takes like 8 minutes, I think was the average.
8 to 11 minutes.
Depends on how verbose you would like to be. But, yeah, 8 minutes is the average.
it. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to get a few more people to take the survey.
There's plenty of, I think the questions were well-rounded. I mean, it really covered. When I was done with it, I knew that, I mean, I couldn't think of anything else that you would want to ask.
Thank you. So ask what programming people use so we can really make a point of why the community room would be necessary. So beach yoga, sup yoga, swimming lessons, private lessons, junior guards, sailing program, private sailing lessons, public sailing lessons, and other. One of the things sailing specific that we're trying to do is get an affiliation with USA Sailing to really hone in on that program because there's nothing in the area except for Boston, which everybody's familiar with, you know, where you see all the sailboats, they're the closest affiliation. But with that, there are, you know, a lot of AV components to that training of watching videos and, you know, learning things. So that would be a standout piece to being able to get that done.
Even boater safety courses, everything could be done.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed.
And TJ Connors from the Environmental Police, you know, I've talked to him on multiple occasions, and they do have classes. They would be more than happy to, you know, teach, you know, everything from boater safety to, you know, how to properly load and unload your boat, things like that. So, very, definitely possibilities are endless. How do you feel the building currently serves your needs? So we only had one person who was very unsatisfied. Unsatisfied 13 and then up, somewhat unsatisfied and somewhat satisfied were kind of the middle ground, and then 9 that were satisfied and 5 who were very satisfied with the current building. How do you feel the operating season of the building serves your current needs? There was 1 very unsatisfied, once again somewhat unsatisfied and somewhat satisfied were our middle ground, kind of splitting it absolutely even down the middle. So we, you know, do have people on both sides of that fence. So this is Parks and Recreation is requesting a design that incorporates all of the following that we spoke about already under one roof. And then basically we were asking, you know, what is important to you in this question? So changing stalls, showers, foot washes, drinking, bottle filling stations, snack shack, equipment, community programming, shelter, and other. Really right down the line, everything that we talked about pretty much got even votes. Everything's right between that 9 to 11%. The other ones that are really the standout other is boat storage, public
Yes.
boat storage that people are willing to rent so they don't have to carry their kayak, canoe, paddleboard. That is the number 1 request that we have right now. Is to
Interesting.
so people don't want to load them, people don't
Revenue
want to have to
stream.
load them on their cars, they'd you know, we've had there's, pretty much people will pay up to, you know, $30 a month to store their kayak or their paddleboard at the beach so they don't have to put it on and off their car all summer. So definitely something to look into,
Yeah.
when we talk about, you know,
I can see
the
that.
outdoor design. of
Totally,
the
you do it so
building.
much more often, rather,
Right,
Right.
if it's
And
easy, right?
we want to be able to get people out there. And I know, you know, personally, it's something that we own a boat, and we've actually bought like a little wheel carry, like thing to be able to put the canoe on it to truck it down there, and we've done it once since we bought that carrier. So, and we can go down and I could rent the boats that are down there as well, but, there's something about you buy your own boat, you want to use your own boat, and so I totally understand.
Well, and the
that.
hours and so on, you don't have to worry about them being
Indeed.
open and available, but
Yeah.
that's interesting, because my kayak fits in the back of my van, so it's relatively easy for me to do it.
Yeah.
But if I had to put it on the top of the van,
Yep, every
I would
time.
never do it, or almost never do it, but going in the back, I do it, but if it were just there,
Yeah. And a lot of people like to
you'd be
paddle
driving
by
home and say, I'm
themselves,
gonna
too.
stop at the beach and go for a run, you know?
Yeah, so for some folks, like, for them to do it by themselves, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Sometimes it's
so-
just not even doable, right?
Correct, yeah. So it would give more folks the opportunity to be out, which is
Yeah,
great.
cool.
How do you feel about the proposed design and construction of a multi-use facility? So most people are very agreeable. 40, which is almost 50% of the people who took the survey, gets us up to about 75% who are agreeable, almost 100% under somewhat agreeable, and then the last couple percentage points, which I believe, I can't see that one, but it's right around 7% who are very disagreeable to somewhat disagreeable. So that's 5, 6 people. Proposed new building design will fit in the surrounding neighborhood, so everybody kind of agrees with that Cape-style building. Once again, that almost covers over 85% of what we were looking for. Proposed new building will need to be larger. How do you feel about that? So most everybody's agreeable with a larger building being put down to the beach. Once again, you have 9, 10 people out of 84 who are, not very agreeable with that.
Nice to know where the abutters actually stand on some of these surveys.
So, and I have that information based off of everybody's direct email. I can see that information. It's just not something that we were gonna share on a public
Share
forum,
public.
right?
This is, be curious where they landed some of this stuff.
As far as, if possible, what green additions would you like to see? So big ones were low-flow water fixtures, which through education, I think certain people would change their mind on that idea. Solar panels, the beach is a prime candidate for doing solar with the lighting that we get, specifically how we orient the building. And then LED lighting throughout. We did have some asks for electric car charging stations. Rain gardens was a big one to control the runoff.
And that's really important to us, with especially how important stormwater management is. That's something we really want to make sure that we have. If it's not through this bathhouse, then that's the next phase, is that we really want to focus on that, because the cleaner the lake is, the better, that benefits everybody. So,
Right.
yeah, we want to make sure that's a priority.
And down both those roads, it's very significant when we get heavy rains. That
Yes.
parking lot basically has an inch of running water going over top of it.
A lot of impervious there.
So this is something that would probably interest you the most. Parks and Recreation will apply for federal grants and additional funding. How likely would you be approved to this for using town capital of this project? So we had a total of 10 people who would not be so likely, from somewhat likely to extremely likely, rounds it out. So we do have, in this process, we have people who would be agreeable to helping us get this building done and using town funds to do
Now,
so.
this isn't a heated facility.
I'm sorry?
Would there be a heating system? This isn't something we would use like for ice skating in the winter.
Three
or anything,
seasons.
Right, three, it would.
Yeah,
okay.
3 seasons, yep.
Yep. How agreeable would you to be an increase in an annual beach permit cost to raise additional funding? So about the exact same spread as we had before. Few less very agreeables, but somewhat agreeable. And really, we would look at this to kind of even look at revamping the program as it sits. Unfortunately, one of the things we run into with the parking permits only is everyone who walks and drops off. So there's a very large demographic of people who use the beach who don't pay to use the beach, and specifically people, these are there every day using these facilities and everything else. So we do want to have the conversation with the park commission to look at doing a different system that's in place at many beaches up and down the East Coast. That would be a more per-person system or a household system that everybody would be included, not just the drivers.
I see
Something
this
that,
had a lot of state parks do that too.
Yeah,
but what, you know.
we get a lot of
that.
people who park,
Yeah.
we get a lot of people, even out-of-towners, who park at Shaker Lane to avoid buying a ticket. We get a lot of parents who, you see them come through the parking lot 3 times to drop off the entire neighborhood.
Bring another one, drop off,
And they're
yeah.
like, oh, we do this so we don't have to buy a sticker. So,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, Saturday mornings, it's just the trolleys of people coming. So we're gonna look at that, hopefully not have to increase the cost,
The
maybe,
toll booth.
yep.
And I will use this as the opportunity to again remind everyone that is watching that the fees that that come from the beach sticker pay for the lifeguards to be there. So it's a life-saving service that those beach stickers provide. So I want to take that opportunity as a
You're
reminder
checking
that
the water
that's
and other
why.
things too. I mean, and if people are going to use the beach, they ought to buy the sticker.
Indeed.
Right,
Yes,
and
yeah.
that's one of the things, and tax dollars do not go towards that, I think that's the biggest.
Well, it's a shame on us, that's all. I mean, if we don't have something in place, people are going, I mean,
Yeah, I guess. but
So,
you go, how far do you go out of your way though to save $10? you
well,
know?
evidently a lot.
Yeah.
so, and like I said, we had a banner year this year, we did have a parking tent there that somebody manned,
Yeah.
and it really, when you look at the numbers side by side last year compared to this year, it's mind-boggling, so, to maybe not even have to increase this, but just spread it out and make everybody play on the same field. We could, we know how much it costs to operate the beach every summer, so we can take that number, and then anything over that would be automatically put towards the bathhouse design or whatever, we looked at doing for that.
Yeah, I want to say in the 80s or maybe early 90s that they did that. And this is before I was.
It
on
was
the-
like a household system or something?
No, they had like
Per
it was like almost like a string that they clamped on your ankle that gave you the pass for the day. It was like $2 a day or something.
Huh.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Yeah.
wristband
You're right.
system.
Yeah, I've seen that, the beach tags.
Yeah, so the beach tags is more of what we were talking about, where, it goes on mom's bag, you have one for every person in your household, or whatever you're gonna do. So that would be something that we
You
would,
know what steals the bag while you're out in the water?
exactly, but, we keep track of all that through the
Yeah.
purchasing program, so we can, we can void those, do whatever we need, reissue, refund, so all ideas that we're looking at to make this a self-sustaining project, just like, Parks and Recreation.
And the nicer you make it, the more important that's going to be, because more people are going to want to come and so on, right?
Correct, and we already get a lot of questions about, can we not have out-of-town people come to the beach? So unfortunately, that is a big piece of who helps pay for the lifeguards is the out-of-town people who come to the beach and pay $100 for their annual sticker.
Yep.
How agreeable would you be to an increase in raising additional programming fees for additional funds? So about the same split with this. Would you prefer the new bathhouse be constructed by technical school general contractors or does not matter? Majority is does not matter. Technical school followed by general contractors. Neshoba Valley Technical School has all of the resources to be able to do this, especially if we put it into next year's construction plan, as we stated in the timeline. So it could definitely be something that we have further discussions with them and really push harder once we have a construction design to see if it's something that they would accomplish for the 2019 summer.
If you had a school district do this, do you still have to bid? Would they have to bid against?
No,
No,
I believe you could just,
you could just
you could
award
just
it.
have them do it
Yeah.
under their.
Yes, and we would
service.
get much more bang for our buck.
Yeah, well,
So you would,
You just pay for the materials, right?
We wanna
yeah,
be-
speaking to them, we would we would give them the design. They would calculate how much the materials would cost. They add on, I believe, a 20.
Transportation costs, yeah.
Well, there's like a 20% of that to cover incidental. So like if, something breaks and they have to get machinery or yes, transportation costs, things like that. So, so it would be, the cost plus 20%,
Yeah.
but no,
Which
you
is
wouldn't have to pay for
significantly
workers
lower.
either.
There would be
Yeah.
the
prevailing
cost
wage.
to whatever general contractor oversaw.
Correct.
So there needs to be a certified electrician, there needs to be a
Absolutely.
certified plumber.
Sure.
So there would be that cost to
yeah, but
oversee the students, but.
it still is going to be a lower cost and it's benefit
Enormously low.
It's
for
a
the
good thing,
school.
right,
Indeed.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, so, in this, like I said, we have $30,000 for the design, assuming that it's a $300,000 building, that $300,000 goes much further in that, idea.
And I think this is something that our department, we prefer this option because it is giving kids that skill set that are here in this community. But however, it does depend on our timeline and what it turns into.
If they can accomplish it in that time.
Correct. Yeah, so we have to give them a full school year to be able to
Yeah.
do it. And even then, so we'll have to talk about that when we go that way.
That's why having this all done and ready for the minute we close doors on September.
But
is
it's an option, I think
Right.
that's good.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So what questions do you have, was one of the ones that we put out there. So we got a lot of, I'll just open this up, let me just check something real quick. So we did get,
Oh, don't do that.
yeah.
It has their emails.
So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to check real quick. But we got pretty much everything from, questions were really concerned of, can I see a design of the bathhouse, which is what we're currently working on achieving. Public boat storage, so this was one of the people who did not like that idea, even though that was, something that a lot of people did want. A couple people asked about the frog pond and who runs it and why we can't upgrade that a little better. So, because I guess that was renovated a couple years ago and just not upkept, so people want to see that.
That's not us.
Not us.
Mosquito breeder.
So can you sell t-shirts, bricks to help fund the event? So we did get some funding ideas.
The brick thing is pretty neat.
Yeah, what ideas do you have for the design? So make it look like all the buildings in the community, not some new age monstrosity. Look at ways of making it a year-round facility. Leverage it as the hallmark of our town. Shelter component is a good idea, a place to be comfortable when a thunderstorm passes
Yeah.
through. What concerns do you have? So major concerns, septic needs. Can't comment until I see the design, that it would be too costly just for the summer use. That one was mentioned a couple times. What additional questions should we ask? So would people be interested in a space large enough to rent for functions? Does the town really need additional town building construction projects at this time? That one was brought up a few times. And how maybe vote on how the money should be spent. We should not be appealing to out-of-towners. So the out-of-town component is a big one, but, I can't stress enough that they are the ones who pretty much keep our beach running. Because they are paying almost 3 times what the resident sticker rate is. So that is the survey. Moving forward, like I said, the next steps are to get the RFQ to Bonnie and to the attorney so that we can get that out for bid in the next week or two. To get with PMBC in the next meeting. I'm going to put a request in for that to get somebody else appointed from the PMBC committee to fill Bill Cole's spot. And once we have the design in place to go through what we had just spoken about. Any other questions?
So you said it's only gonna be designed for 3-season use.
Yep.
Are you thinking about maybe having it set up so that it could easily be used year-round, like it's all insulated, and everything could be turned on at a, drop of a hat, and you could use it in the wintertime for special events and things like that?
I mean, it's something we can definitely look into. I think the winter season's kind of one of those oddities because we're not really encouraging people to be down there and ice skating. I know that the ice fishing and things like that, it happens, but the lake is so deep, it's something that, I think we don't really want to encourage that. And by having something open year-round, you really are inviting
You have
folks.
to be responsible for going, making
Yeah.
sure the ice is safe now and
Right.
Right, correct.
cleared and
Yeah.
sanded.
And as a staff, especially in the wintertime, it's us, full-time, that's
Yeah.
it. We don't have any additional staff that's helping us in that season.
I guess I was thinking more in the lines, if you have meetings up there, training, things like that, if there's
Right.
things that you could offer in the
Right.
off-season. so
I
that
would
you
love
could-
to be
you
able to
could
do
use
that.
it.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see us miss out on an opportunity to insulate it and build it for year-round use, and all of a sudden you realize that there's some opportunity, maybe a little further on the fringe seasons, to do different things with the building, not so
Right.
much the water, but the
Gotcha.
building part of it.
We
Yeah.
can consider that.
We
yeah.
can definitely, and one thing that I've thought about that would be a use for that is, multiple organizations do a polar plunge or something like that in the wintertime.
Honor
And it'd be
Society.
nice to get everyone together on one day where the fire company only has to come out once,
Yeah.
and we can, you know, if we had the community room, yes, we could, you know, even space heaters, if we came up with an idea, you know, to be able to use it for that kind of event. It'd be, yes, it would give us the ability to do things like that.
Fundraising
and plan
events,
out.
things
Yep.
like that, yeah.
So, but yeah, absolutely, and, you know, that's been the thing that we want to stress the most is, you know, we want every idea, we want to think about every single angle, because we want this building to serve the community the best that it possibly can.
And one of the nice things about that is just the whole idea of, it's just kind of like, you're outdoors, even if it's indoors, you're outdoors, as opposed to all the phones and all that stuff, you know, there's just something about that feeling like you're out there, and it is such a gem. I mean, people that don't go down there ever watch the sunset, I mean, and, I mean, you know, but, I mean, I go down there a lot, and there's all ages, I mean, that's the only thing I love about it, you know, there's, the 90-year-olds are down there with the little kids playing, and the preteens and the teen, I mean, it's really fun to see all that happening.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, we do want to stress the importance of, you know, this, we really want to have the bathhouse, but we do want to get more things to accommodate everybody who's down there. You know, we have a lot of kids who have absolutely zero place to fish, and we want to, you know, we want to solve that problem. We really want to come up with a better solution for docking boats, because right now there's nowhere to dock a boat. You bring it in, you put it on your trailer. If you need to run in and use the bathroom, there's nowhere for it to go. You know, solve problems for seniors who just want to come down and have lunch, and, you know, if they're there with a caretaker, we do get a lot of that. Solve the solution for, we do have a couple families with children who can't make it onto the beach because of wheelchairs and things like that. So we're looking into the option of being able to have a water wheelchair available, or, you know, like I said, building that deck with a dock that goes down to the ramp, so accessibility issues are easier to do. And this is the purpose when we say that we really want to explore all the options and build something that's going to not only serve the community now, but is going to grow, and we've already thought about all of these issues, you know, for the next 30 years.
Makes sense. That's great. Board members, any other thoughts? Penny?
Driver?
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in and showing us what you got going on there, and it's, I think it's a great idea, and just let us know how we can
Yeah,
help
thank
to
you.
support.
No problem, and we will see how many more people we can get emails out to.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Kirby and make sure that the slide is still running on LCTV about the survey, and everybody check on your brochure back page.
Yes.
I just go to your
It's,
website, that's the
right
answer.
there.
That's good, and that's the thing, for everybody that's watching, go to your website, definitely, our website, not
Yep.
yours, ours, and please take the survey, because it's super important. The more that we get, the more, I mean, we have 10,000 people in the community, and we would like to get as many people's opinion as possible, because it should serve everyone.
Well, the 5 people watching at home, you just,
And just so you know, if we get a new concession stand, Gary already said he would cook hamburgers for the entire town.
Then you get me going round and round with it.
That was
I'll
one.
eat more than I sell.
Hey, you've been here 4 times.
before we let you guys go, any updates with the field maintenance MOU, anything? You guys working on anything there?
So
While I got you.
the field needs assessment is being completed. So I actually just talked to Gail today, so we are finishing the final draft. So the final draft is actually due tomorrow, as well as the presentation that they're going to present to you, Board of Selectmen and the Park Commission on the 25th. So that will be Gail's presentation of the final analysis of the report. So that's going to actually come with cost estimates of things, what their suggestions are for field maintenance and operations maintenance throughout the year and seasonal. So it's very in-depth, it's really great. It will also come with suggestions on expansion and what that looks like and what options there are and potential costs that come with that as well. So they really have gone in depth with this report. So the report that will be presented, it's just the start of the whole process, right? So, you know, they will be there to give the entire presentation. Unfortunately, I can't be there with you that night. But Tim will be here, Gary will be here as well. So any questions that you may have after that meeting, feel free to please contact me and I can sit down with you and we can start that process of thinking about what do we do moving forward? It's something that we do need to think about because it is part of the master plan, talking about the field's needs. I'm also very cognizant of some of these bigger projects that we have on board. So, we have to, as a town, make a decision what makes the best sense for us financially. So I completely understand that.
Is governance part of this? Because that, we keep bringing that up, and we talk about maintenance, but the whole governance of
No.
all these fields, right?
Yeah, so we're still working on the memorandum of understanding, I believe. Gary, Mike, and Chuck DeCoste, the three of you are in communication about that. We wanted to finish this field needs assessment first to really figure out what the cost estimate was for all of this. I think so there's nothing set in stone right now. All that is being communicated, but any additional questions that you have about that process, please let me
But
know.
who makes calls? I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking scheduling and things like this. Like, there's two different groups. It's a school group, and it's a park and rec group, or it's some outside person wants to spend some money and rent it.
Yep.
Who makes those calls? Who has that kind of responsibility across these fields?
So the way to the way that the system has worked in the past is Mike Lynn would schedule all the school stuff, right? So everything was put in space for the public school athletics. After that, all the requests from youth sports organizations or outside organizations would come to me, our desk, and then we would schedule those out, knowing that the school has top priority for those athletic fields. So some of the things that we have to work out is that with the athletics, they have to make the decision around like noon if they're going to cancel things. So whereas our programs, if we cancel at noon, that's a little bit too early for them. So those are the type of things that we're trying to solidify what those procedures actually are and what they will look like in the future, who's going to be responsible for what. And things change, with alumni being built. That's a turf field. That's a completely different, ball to work with. So in our highway department.
The first draft of the MOU that Chuck and Gary and I went over, what we're proposing is that the synthetic turf field will be dealt with the same way we deal with gymnasiums. Because in a lot of ways, it's like a gymnasium. It doesn't really get canceled for weather, and it doesn't have the same maintenance requirements. So the school department, we have our own software and our own devoted resource that we use for scheduling gyms. That facility will be added in the same way we do our gyms in the auditorium and the other spaces that we have that we share between our interscholastic groups, our youth groups within Littleton, and then any third-party outside groups. Like if it's a gym, it might be, we have an Indian group that comes up and sometimes uses the gym along with the cafeteria in the auditorium, or it could be, Indian Hill or a dance troupe or something like that. So we will be in charge of the scheduling for that, and we will be in charge of the maintenance scheduling and funding the maintenance as a maintenance line item out of a revolving fund that will be used whether it's money that's donated to us through community fundraising groups or rentals that we get. We don't know really how much we're going to rent it out, we'll see, but that would all be handled through us.
So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking, so the school department decides how much it's going to get rented out or not?
Yes.
Well, who's controlling this discussion and who's approving it, I guess? We're talking about an MOU. You guys.
The MOU, it'll be jointly approved by Park and Rec, Board of Selectmen, and the school committee, like it was initially, when it was initially drawn up. I wouldn't look at it in the sense that we're going to decide, we're going to be the sole arbiters of deciding how much it gets rented out. We would be, if it is going to get rented out, they're going to call the school department and talk to Robin Healy, or email Robin Healy, because that's who you email for getting gym usage or auditorium usage or cafeteria usage. That's who our resource is, and she has the scheduling software at her beck and call.
Well, outside, when we're looking outside of that, it's also the revenue stream, right? Where does that go? And the maintenance of the field is that, that's why we were talking about.
Right. For alumni in particular, the MOU states that, now this is a draft, so we gotta iron this all out, we gotta talk to our council and things like that. But it's our initial thought that there would be a revolving fund under the school department's control, auspices, the way our other revolving funds are, that would be specifically for maintenance and conceivably capital costs, like carpet replacement of the alumni field playing facility. There's also language in this first draft of the MOU that the maintenance of the natural grass fields, which has kind of been we assess the youth group's money and it's administered through Park and Rec, they order the materials, but highways, that would all go under the highway department as a specific line item, and how that's funded, whether it's through assessments to youth groups, assessments, rentals, whatever it is, or just budgeting through our normal budgeting process where we budget any department, it would sit under the highway department's budget, which it doesn't now because there is no such thing, right? There's no line item for it.
But my concern with that is if the highway department has surplus money at the end of the year, does the town take it back and use it someplace else? Or if we keep it in Park and Rec where we're a enterprise, we can carry money over and not have the town steal back, like snow plowing, for example.
That's why, like I say, this is what we've talked about, but we haven't agreed to anything yet because we're trying to iron out the details and things about the pros and cons and conceivably unintended consequences that we don't see initially. When
Well, I was just wondering the thought process behind why alumni is different why are we treating it different than a baseball field?
Because it's maintained differently, it's going to have a different cost structure. The usage of it is going to be significantly higher than it is for the grass fields. We're going to have way more hours of usage because we can afford to have more hours of usage, and it was designed to have more hours of usage.
I mean, I know it's a serious, the scheduling of any field is quite an undertaking, so just staffing, I'm just thinking staffing that, from the school's point of view.
Staffing for the actual scheduling of it,
Oh, yeah.
we have a person that does it. She does it already for all our other facilities. This is like if we added another gym. She would just put it into the system as, okay, you're calling or emailing about this one, click, 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 boom. Oh, you can't have it that day, it's already being used by youth lacrosse. Oh, this day's open, good, we're done.
In the current amount of fields we have right now, I don't know how much we're gonna be able to rent it anyways with our own groups that are already in town. How much rental money we'll be able to, what hours or how late at night do we wanna rent it out?
Yeah, I mean, but does this person then also just make, somebody says they want to come in and use it for a community ball game or something, that's one thing, but somebody comes in and says, I want to have an Irish festival or something on it. I mean, who makes those kind of calls, right? Well, we don't want that there.
Well, obviously, if it was,
Nothing against the Irish, that was just a, just put that out there. I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I mean, it's the school department's facility, it's on
Okay.
school grounds, we would make that determination. But if it was something like that, where police details are required, all-day custodial coverage is required, like, if you rent the field for a men's pickup soccer league, you don't really need a lot of supervision. They come in, they play, they go home.
Right.
You ask them to pick up their trash, if they don't, you yell at them and don't let them rent it again. But somebody will pick up the trash, but it's a small footprint. Something like that, we would never unilaterally say, oh, yeah, great, let's do it. No, we would have to coordinate and make sure that this is something that the community feels like we can support. And if the community's telling us no, then we would say, okay, that one we're not gonna do, We're not gonna-
So Mike, a year ago, if I had a youth, an 8-year-old soccer team, and I wanted to have that field at 6 PM, how would I have done it?
Alumni field?
Yeah.
You would, because it was a natural grass, I don't know, we didn't schedule anything alumni field, we don't use it like that, there aren't youth groups that use it, I guess that one I don't know.
Now you can, that's what I'm saying,
Would
now
call
we
you
can.
or would
Well,
call
like
us?
lacrosse uses
There
it
were
in the
youth
spring,
groups
right?
that did use alumni field, and yes, it was organized and scheduled through us.
Sounds like you guys have to work that out a little
Yeah,
bit
I mean,
more.
it's a draft right now, so, but I was just curious on the, because now we have a lock, now it's locked now, there's a lot of other stuff that has to be worked out.
It just seems kind of odd that
Facility,
you're
it's actually a
making,
facility now that's contained.
yeah, but it just seems odd that you're making the shift from managing it as you were now for all the fields to controlling the alumni under the school where everything else is controlled under
I don't
rec.
worry about the maintenance, which we talked about.
We don't do the maintenance on those fields. And we're proposing that we will contract for the maintenance and run it through that revolving fund.
And
So
we-
they don't really need to worry about it.
Yeah,
I mean, we're jumping way ahead. I
Right,
know
yeah,
there's a
right.
lot of work to be done on, I
No,
just,
this
this helps
Draft,
answer
but
some
at least we get an understanding. Go
We
ahead.
did check with bond counsel just to make sure that we weren't risking the status of our municipal bond.
Yeah.
Because you can't, rent facilities out for profit or run it like a business for
Well,
the status
if it's
that we
all
have.
being spent on
And they said
maintenance,
if
et cetera.
if it's maintenance and just maintenance
Yeah.
or for future capital,
Yeah.
then you're fine. And that, well, once the agreement's reduced to writing, we'll have them review it again, just to make sure that we haven't,
We have had we've actually had almost no discussion about renting it.
Well, I mean, that's gonna come up, though.
Yeah, I mean. I
Very
would think
quickly.
that-
The reason that we haven't is, in the sense that what, people are gonna be knocking down our door to say, this is a great facility, we wanna rent it?
I don't say a AAU or some flag football is a
Yeah.
good example. Some star camp wants to move
To
in.
Gary's point, I don't think we're gonna be able to accommodate that very often. That's why I don't think we're really worrying about it too much, because we don't see a huge opportunity for rental. Because the fall weekends, it's already being used by youth groups. And we're not going to supplant youth groups to make more money off of third-party rentals. The spring, it's gonna be chock full of Littleton youth lacrosse and high school lacrosse. So there's very limited use there.
So then why would you want to control it? If
That's my
everything else
point,
is- just doesn't make
because it's not gonna be
sense.
that big a deal. We're gonna control it the way we control our gyms. Once you blocked off the interscholastic and the youth, there's nothing left to do.
Well, I mean, you go to Acton and those fields are running, geez, 10, 11 at night.
Right, but they have way more
Sports, you know,
fields.
with the lights,
Right,
because it's just lights now,
exactly. They have
so-
way more fields, and I
There's
think they have
opportunity.
more capacity than they really need relative to supporting their interscholastic and youth programs. They look at the calendar and it's like, whoa, there's huge gaps here,
Yeah.
and people want to use it, let's do it. We have one synthetic turf field, one.
Yeah.
And very few other fields.
Right, so we're gonna max it out. Now, in the summer, when there isn't as much usage, if there are, soccer, youth, lacrosse tournaments or camps or pickup groups or adult, yeah, we might jump on that, because we're not using it. But that's kind of down the road, it's not, obviously it's gonna get addressed.
Yeah, well, because
It
it's
will
a new
happen.
it's
We
a new
want it.
mechanism for
Right.
you to do, whereas the Park and Rec was doing it to some degree on all the fields, right? So that's why I brought it up. Because if it is gonna be,
But they were the ones collecting the money because they were the ones in charge of maintaining the field. That's why it was important for them to have control of the cash flow coming in and going out. This one, we're proposing that we're gonna control the outflow, why wouldn't we control the inflow?
Is there some reason why the school department has the skills or whatever to maintain the turf field versus
We're
other
gonna
things?
contract it out, so there's really nothing that, we don't need, we're not gonna be using our people on it. When we do those deep cleans and stuff like that, we're not asking them to do that, we don't need that, and we don't think it's a good idea, we think the highway's already got enough to do.
wait, is that more
Asking
cost
them to do
effective
it.
though, I guess, hiring a highway
information
department
that we
person
got-
as opposed to
The
contract?
information that we got when we were doing, as the Alumni Field Renovation Advisory Committee, was that contracted out. It's a twice-a-year thing, it's
Yeah.
not an ongoing, week-by-week thing that you have to do. Now, there is some, obviously
Trash.
custodial coverage, that's
Things
right,
like
that, and we are, talking about that right now, where we have a custodial person at Russell Street who's working for Tiger's Den, and we're thinking that that person would also be able to come over during those hours when it's being used, but we're still working that part of it out. And then weekend coverage, we're still trying, thinking about, if it's a practice, we probably wouldn't ask someone to be there on a regular basis, like a site administrator, but if it was a game, we probably would. And we're still trying to work that
So you-
stuff out.
So you're gonna take care of the custodial of the bathrooms and everything there as well? That's all gonna fall under your.
It's school property.
I think those are details you guys need to work out. Our main focus when this first started, excuse me, was getting the fields maintained, which they weren't being done the way they should have been. The resources weren't there to do it, and we weren't sure who was in charge of what. Now, you lock down who's in charge of what, and we lock down the resources to the maintenance, I'm good. You guys can discuss who schedules what after that. But I think we're on the way, so that's wonderful.
I guess my only concern is just financial, make sure that there's enough funds to not only take care of alumni, but take care of the existing fields and make them better than what they are today. And make sure there's enough money there to do that.
And that presentation that's this coming Monday will present, what the options are for that.
And the other thing to keep in mind about that is that by virtue of opening a synthetic turf field and having it made available for lacrosse, a lot of the things, the concerns that we have won't be as, I mean, there's issues relative to the funding of the general maintenance of natural grass fields in Littleton that has to be addressed, there's no question about it. But the scope of the problem is gonna shrink. It's not gonna go away, and it needs to get addressed.
Well, we don't even know the
Sure.
effect. You just
We're
asked, you're guessing,
speculating,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it could go away a lot.
But it'll take a lot of wear and tear
It's
off
not
the
gonna, we're not gonna
natural
see
grass.
that for a
Correct.
couple of years out with this really.
And that's something else that Gail will talk about. They've done
Okay.
that research to give you an answer to that.
You know, if you take like youth football off a grass field and put it on a turf
Right.
field, same with lacrosse and spring, those are the two major sports
Those are
that
the
That caused
tear the
massive
I
damage.
mean, that's the
changes
thing.
out of the field.
The system that we had, I won't deny or argue someone's point that it was a poorly designed system, but believe it or not, it actually worked. The fields were playable for decades.
Right, well,
And it was with the introduction of lacrosse and football that all of a sudden we realized that management structure such as it was no longer sufficient to the purpose, and now it needs to get dealt with.
no, I fully understand that. And it shows the numbers of students and youth participation in all these. It's amazing the percentage in town, so. We don't want that to
Good
change.
problem to have.
Right,
In
Yeah,
that
no,
sense.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
gets them off the Xbox.
Any other, thank you, by the way, for the update. Any other comments from the board? I think we're good. Thanks for coming out
Thank you.
and sharing everything with us. Have a great night.
You too?
Mike, we're gonna be a little while because we're a little behind. Let's move on to the budget update. Bonnie,
Sure.
give us some updates here, get us back on track.
So basically, this update is relative to the special town meeting planning, and what funding is available, and, you know, what's changed in the 2018 budget outlook. So the operating budget is in balance. There are two funding sources for special town meeting that are available. Both funding sources are available for one-time type uses, they're not operating. The first is overlay surplus. The Board of Assessors, I ask them to meet generally every August and kind of go through their overlay, which is the allowance for abatements that they reserve each year. They had some large cases settled, and so they were able to do a $500,000 release of overlay surplus.
Did we know about this last meeting? I think,
I had asked them to vote, and they
Okay,
hadn't met
okay.
yet, so they formally met and
Okay.
have released it, so that's official. And the other source of funding is about $243,000 available from the snow and ice budget that we planned for a deficit of $450,000. We didn't hit that target last year, so that is available for one time.
That's amazing that we didn't hit that.
Well, we budget for $650,000 in total snow and ice spending. We appropriate $200,000 in the town meeting budget.
That's right.
And then we budget for a deficit of $450,000. The reason we do that is if you budget it fully, like $650,000 as an appropriation, you can never reduce it,
Right.
and you can never use it for something else. So it just gives you a little bit of flexibility. We know we're gonna spend $200,000 every year.
That's the
450 is kind of
unpredictability.
like the unknown. And then, you know, I think it was 2 years ago, we spent the full.
Yep.
We flew through everything.
And some, didn't we? Didn't we have to?
My back's
Yeah,
still
and then
sore.
some, we had to add
Yeah, we
like
had to add.
50,000 to it.
Still sore.
Your back's still sore.
So those are the two sources of funding. There is one budget adjustment that is requested in the operating budget for IT services for the assistance for Nancy Glencross. It's not a new item, it was requested in the operating budget last year, just we weren't sure if we were going to be able to fund it. So it was kind of put off until now. Nancy is, you might remember the org chart that was presented in the budget last year, where she's in charge of everything, police, fire, highway, cemetery, all of these buildings that are spread out among the town, one person for all the IT needs. So this individual, we brought in for a tier 1 support, basically triage. You know, you call this individual, something's not working, the network's down, whatever, and it allows Nancy to focus on the larger infrastructure needs. She is extremely stressed. It's even hard for her to get her to take the time to write out the job description. I had to give her a couple of examples from other communities, so she didn't have to do the legwork on it. So that is in there. The cost for fiscal 18, because we'd be hiring in January, is estimated at about $30,000, and next year's would be about $63,000 for the total year. As far as other items that we're looking to fund in the fall town meeting, for the snow and ice money that's remaining.
You're
the
looking to
200
do this within where we are, with the money that you
Yes,
have available?
yes.
Okay.
We had it
'Cause
available in
this is
May.
not a
We
one-time,
we just
this is
weren't
normal.
sure where we were gonna land,
Okay,
and
all right.
we're fine. The state aid, came in where we're expected, and the local receipts are holding, so. So for the snow and ice money, there's 243,000 available. There are two items that are requested to be able to tap these. They're both existing items that were appropriated in the annual town meeting. The first one is for, it's actually a little different from this. We had 50,000 for curb and sidewalk repairs. That was a placeholder item. It's actually 99,000. Within the PMBC article that was approved at town meeting for 299,000, there was 40,000 in there to do repairs at the middle school for the walkways and curbs. I don't know if you've been down there, but you can see them deteriorating. Chris Stoddard, our engineer, was not on staff when that estimate was drafted. So he came in, they asked him to, can you go through and give us a better estimate? So to truly do the repairs properly, it's 139,000. So he's done all the legwork on it, he knows what it's gonna be. We have 40,000 already earmarked, so we need 99,000 to augment that.
Well, that'll tie in nicely with alumni, so.
Right. So that's one, again, it's an existing project. The other thing is for the master plan implementation committee, which we also funded at the annual town meeting. As part of their additional work, they're looking for $80,000 for two items. One is to create a master plan for the common, and the other is 50,000 to do the zoning bylaw review. So 30 and 50, totaling 80. So they're not new projects. There were other new projects that were thrown out as, possibly being considered, but generally, I know the finance committee likes to look at existing, something that's not brand new, and let the new things go through the budget cycle. So those are the only two things that are being requested. Item C, we're gonna take care of, that's listed in this memo, out of operating funds. We have the money aside for that, and that's for the library door. So this will leave, in excess of $100,000, which will roll to free cash, that we typically
Or we
do.
could put it in capital stabilization, or we could pay off some stuff we already have, right? I mean,
We have a plan, I'm gonna kind of
okay,
walk you through
okay,
that.
all right.
So that takes care of the suggested use of snow and ice money. So we have the 500,000 that we have an overlay. Now, where it's an allowance for an abatement, it's kind of a reserve for a credit on taxes. As suggested by the Finance Committee a couple of meetings ago, we wanted to look at our funding for the Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. So right now, as we stand, we had planned on reducing the debt level from where it stands today down to the 2022 level in a sustained manner. Last year, we saved 17 cents on the tax rate by doing this. We wanted to see if we could stretch that out and go a little further. We were going to take money out of debt exclusion stabilization to affect that savings this year. We said, well, why don't we just use the overlay money? Take 339,000 out of overlay, leave debt exclusion stabilization alone, and that would get us out like another year to the 2023 debt level. And then we said, well, what would it take to get us out another year? So if we add another $90,000 into the account where it stands today, we can reduce the excluded debt level down to the 2024 marker. So rather than paying, the excluded debt up here, where, as it goes down, we're down here in a sustained manner. So there's not going to be any spiking of savings in one year versus another. We did this last year by going down to the 2022 level. We saved about 17 cents on the single rate, and it was about $70 a household on an average residential home. So it's about the same ballpark of savings that we'd be looking to do in fiscal 18, and, we'll continue to look for adjustments going forward, but we'd use most of the overlay surplus money available to do this. So there's going to be two items. We're going to adjust Article 4, which is the budget article, to show that we're going to draw down that 339,000. Rather than raise and appropriate it, we're going to take it out of overlay surplus, so we won't raise it. And then in another article, we're going to add at least 90,000. We need at least 90,000 to go in to get us down to the sustainable 2024 debt level. So keeping those savings in effect for the residents. So we can do that, both of those, with the overlay surplus money. If we just did it to the minimum amount, then there would be an amount that would close, again, to the free cash. We could add more, you know, but we wanted to get you a concrete number to show you,
At least the number. And this is a good story.
yeah, it is.
This is good for the taxpayers.
It's just, yeah,
You know, I mean, it's not a lot of money for each individual
But it's
taxpayer,
not
but
going the other way.
it's not going the other way, which is important.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so if you look at, I know this is a small chart, but if you look at this information, the debt service level for 18, the excluded debt is 1.7, almost 1,748. So we're bringing it down, instead of paying $1,748,000, we're gonna only raise $1,400,000 on the residents. And we're gonna fund that $339,000 out of the overlay surplus. And we'll keep it at that level all the way down to fiscal '23, and that's the '24 level. So again, we can look at this each year, each town meeting, to see if there's more that we can put in and drag that out a little further.
as we pay, yeah, as we're paying down some of these debts
Yep.
from a pretty busy year with the fire department and alumni.
Well, those are inside debt.
Those are
This is
inside. This is
excluded debt, so
excluded.
this is a direct
Oh, everything,
savings
yeah,
to
yeah,
your
right,
pocketbook.
right, okay.
So
These are the large capital projects that were done.
excluded.
Yeah, that were done through an exclusion.
So middle school,
Middle
Russell
school,
Street,
Russell
Yeah.
police
So-
station.
I guess what's the downside? What potentially could, I mean,
The downside is you're using these monies that you might want to use for another capital project.
Yeah.
It really,
Well, yeah and no. Because it's a tax category, another capital project is not necessarily what you can use it for. So,
I think that's the way you've got this earmarked, Bonnie's a good way to go for the taxpayers. I mean, anytime we can provide relief to them, I think it's good. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something.
right, how many years are we gonna be in this type of situation where we can, and do we keep pushing this out?
Right, exactly, yep.
Or do we
Yeah, yeah, that's
eventually
what it
use it
comes
for
down to.
something that's?
Keep kicking the can, right? Yeah, so something else might come up, and at least we're making a
Yeah,
well, and it gives,
opportunity to reduce
it
it.
gives the history on, it. If we ask for an exclusion, it doesn't
Right.
mean we're necessarily going to raise all of that. We're going to do everything we can to not,
To not, right, do it inside the levy.
with one-time uses of, sources of money that,
Pay it off faster or whatever, right?
yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
so that's where we are for town meeting. I did provide you with the draft warrant booklet.
Yes, thank you.
So the timeline's on the front. You don't need to start making recommendations at this point. The warrant closes this Friday. You can make recommendations if you want, but if you want to take this home and absorb
Yeah.
the information, the only thing I would point out is I dropped two inserts in here. One is at Article 8, which is on page 18. I threw in a memo from the Elder and Human Services. So Article 8 was to increase the exemption amount from 50% above the state limit to 100%. And we've been talking about this for a while, but the fiscal impact is budgeted in our current scenario. And it just breaks it down for you here. So you can see, currently we're paying $45,000 for these exemptions. By increasing it to this 100%, you'd be paying $61,000. And again, it's already included in the funding scenario. And the second item, Article 12, is where the curb repair at $99,000 and the master plan implementation at $80,000, and that's on page 22. It was originally drafted as like new articles, and I put in suggested wording to augment the existing articles, so it reflects that it's an already approved project.
Okay.
And Keith is making those changes. That's it.
What?
Yeah, this article, this,
You can't?
that's why.
Oh, because of that thing? Yeah, okay, I'm with you, Bonnie. I think we should take this and just kind of absorb it, and then we'll, got till, when's the date on here to put these articles? So it lays out, right?
Let's see.
It'd be
So the
like-
printer date is Tuesday, the 10th.
Okay,
So we have to have it to the printer by the 10th. So you have up until that date to get recommendations in.
We weren't gonna meet till after that, so.
well, we've got a joint next Monday.
Yeah. We-
Always tough voting articles at somebody else's meeting.
Right.
Can talk about it ourselves.
You say we have to get it in by
10th.
October the 10th?
Yep.
We don't have a meeting scheduled.
That's what we're talking about right now.
We may have to look at,
Moving the 17th.
yeah, moving the 17th up till the 3rd. Is that the 3rd? Is that a Tuesday, the 3rd? I got that right?
Must be.
I'm looking.
If the 10th is.
Yes.
October 3rd is a Tuesday.
Right,
so
yeah.
you're right, yeah.
10-3.
That's pretty.
What do you folks think about that? I know off the top of my head I'm around. At least for now I am.
One of those blank spots on my calendar, amazing.
It's fine.
Now, are we,
October 3rd,
this
I'm
would
fine.
change our 17th meet, we're gonna move it.
Well, the
Maybe
question
so.
is Bonnie, do you think we're gonna need to meet on the 17th if we meet on the 3rd?
I don't think so.
Because
I
we'll
think
vote
you'll be
the
fine.
articles, so we really shouldn't have anything in between then.
Right, and you're meeting again on the 24th with the selectmen jointly, so.
Correct, and that's our meeting, so if we have to have anything else. So I think that's probably a good idea. I think we should move this 17th meeting to the 3rd.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
update that.
And
And I'll
I'll
give this
send
to Diane and to Cable.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Kirby needs to know that too, right? I'll make a note here that Kirby know for LCTV. Okay. All right. Okay, any other thoughts on that
That's good.
discussion? Good. Moving along then, let's go down to public input. Anything? Public? Mike, you got anything?
I'm not here as part of the public right now.
Okay, remember, I'm gonna skip over the financial dashboard discussion. I mean, we kind of had that. I've got a couple of ideas. I was talking to Bonnie about it today. What I'd like to try to do is get a spreadsheet together and kind of just put the moving pieces. And this is the things that we're all talking about here tonight and into the future, and just kind of get them on a spreadsheet so we can see it, that we're having discussions about them and then we're keeping them on the radar. But Bonnie and I will work on that behind the scenes. I'll bring that back up in the next meeting. Member updates? Anybody have any member updates? I did see an email from MMA about the,
ATFC meeting?
it's the one in January, the big one.
The MMA annual.
MMA,
Yes.
yes.
And I think the finance committee meeting is usually in November.
I didn't see that one.
Okay.
I didn't get.
I'll
copy of
look that up and send it to you if anybody's interested in attending.
Depends on what it is, but I'd be
It's
interested.
usually in November, so.
Okay, I'd be interested at least. Do we know where it is this year?
No,
Wasn't last year, it was like right on Devon's, it was really easy to
Yeah,
get
it
to.
was great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to truck
You have to
across the
drive to
state.
Sharon or something, right? Yeah.
East Springfield.
It does move around every year, right?
Yeah, it moves around a little bit. We attended that spring session in Bolton, that wasn't bad either. That was a pretty good one. But I'll tell you, the one thing I've learned about going to those,
Oh, here we go, October 21st.
it's October 21st, huh? I don't think I can do that. Where is it?
I'm looking.
It's a Saturday, the 21st.
It's like an all-day thing, right? Or most of the day? I don't think I'm gonna be able to do
Well, I
it.
can,
Depends on where it is.
I'll be able
Maybe I'll try to squeeze it in.
to. The only-
But, you know, as I said before, the one thing I've learned about going to these meetings is that, you know, we as a town do run pretty well financially compared to a lot of the other towns. It's amazing.
Well, it's nice to go to those meetings to find that out. though.
Yeah, it makes you feel good about what's going on here, you know?
So, for sure.
It's great.
I'll have to look, it's not like right here on the, I don't know why it's
Maybe we
not
could-
right there, but,
Yeah, just send out
I'll
an
forward it
update
on.
to all of us so that if anyone's interested in going,
yep.
we can attend. Meeting minutes, missing July and August.
They went out ages ago.
Yeah, I know, they went out, but I don't think we approved them.
We didn't,
We did not.
and you were going to approve them tonight.
That's what we need to do, because we gotta get, you gotta get them posted, so, I don't recall off the top of my head. Who's here for July and August?
I'm going to say, what are the dates of the meetings?
Wait a minute, I have.
Thank you. Marilyn will have
copies
that.
of- I have
I
two
don't have,
copies.
yeah, I don't have the copies of the meetings and minutes in front of me.
Okay.
I glanced at them.
July meeting, members present was Greg, Gary, Steve, Tom, and Alan.
So we have 3 here, so we can't vote those
We can, we
No,
have
can't.
more,
We need 4, right?
But you have 3
no,
of the 5.
3 of the
that were here.
5 that we're
3
at.
of the 5 that.
The others
were
Oh,
can't
3 of
vote
the
on it
5,
anyway.
then. So, yeah, okay, so we can vote them. All right, and what about August? Well, you got that there.
August, you had Greg, Fred, Betsy, and Gary.
Okay, so we can vote that one too.
Yep.
We have enough. Okay, so then I'll look for motions to approve. We'll start with July meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the July minutes.
Second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstain? All right, in August, I'll look for a motion for August as well.
Motion to approve the August minutes from FinCom.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. If you can, I have them actually, because you sent them out, so I'll send them over to Diane, because I have to send her
Well,
June's.
I automatically sent them to
But
her.
you don't have June's, right? So I need to send her
Yeah,
June's, so I
but I
have
can
that,
send
but we approved
I'll
June.
just take the words draft off and send them out.
Okay, so what we need to do, as a plan going forward, because we don't meet frequently enough, we're gonna need to send her draft minutes, so
Oh,
she can
okay, I can
post
send
them.
her every time I do drafts.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to do that, just so that we don't get complaints about not having, timely minutes.
yep.
So what she recommended was just doing the draft, and then we can change it to final once it's approved.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your help with that. Okay, and then last on our agenda for this evening is we're going to go into executive session here with the school committee. I do have my notes here that I have to read, so that we're going to make a motion to move that the finance committee vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the school department unions, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position with the board, and not to convene an open session thereafter. This is a roll call vote. So I'm looking for, we'll start down this end, looking for, to move into it. We're not going to convene
Could I
now.
ask a question before we vote?
Sure.
Can you legally make a motion as a chairman?
You have to, but don't you have to adjourn this one to go into the executive session?
You know, I think we
Yes,
do,
you have
don't
to
we?
adjourn this one to go into.
Somebody can
Yes.
so move as read Greg's, and somebody has to second it, then you go roll call.
Thank you for the point of
So-
order there.
So moved as read to go into executive session.
Okay, so first, though, we have to make a motion to adjourn.
No, you made it, you made the motion.
This is read here.
You read it, he made it, you need a second.
All right, so I need a
Second.
second.
Second?
All those in favor, well, wait a minute, I got to do roll call.
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. Okay, thank you, folks, have a great night.
Go to Alumni Field Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, good.